Welcome, Moshe. It is such a pleasure to be here with you and to have the opportunity to talk to you. You've written a very interesting book that I'm now reading. The title, it's called Man Searching for Meaning. Would that be a good translation?
Yes. Everybody deep in their hearts understand that the front line that we have in Israel, between Israel and the Islamo-Nazism of Gaza, for example, is basically the front line of the barbarians, the international barbarians, and civilization. So there's a reason why the war happens here, in Israel, in the Holy Land. They call it the flood of Al-Aqsa.
Yes.
The war for the Temple Mount.
Yeah.
And we have no idea what it's for. We don't know what we're fighting for. Once one side has a goal, one side knows exactly what he's fighting for, and the other side is just fighting for survival. It doesn't matter how small they are and how weak they are, they'll always win. You went to a war in order to take the Temple Mount and spread from the holiest place in the world the message of death, the shuhada, the message of the Islamo-Nazi message of tyranny and death. We're going to build Beit HaMikdash. Look at my pen. We're going to build Beit HaMikdash over there. And we, the free Jewish nation, going to spread to the entire world the message of freedom, the message of faith, the message of life. That is the real war. Once the Jewish leadership will understand that concept, victory will be very easy.
Western civilization owes all of the best things that we have, everything that we cherish in the modern world, is actually a gift from Judaism. So our basic ethics in the West,
yes,
we got from Judaism. We got from Hillel the Elder's supreme genetic commandment, which is love your brother as you love yourself, right? Leviticus 19:18. And of course, the body of law that springs from that holy principle. The path forward for Western civilization, I claim, is to re-establish the importance of Judaism at the center of Western identity, and to understand that fighting anti-Semitism, in other words, defending the Jewish people and the Jewish state, is an act of Western self-defense.
Exactly.
Because we, in the process of fighting anti-Semitism, we are defending everything that is
civilization,
everything that is good in Western civilization. But also, looked from the negative side, we know that anti-Semitism is the tool of totalitarianism. Right. We have seen it time and time again. Why is it the tool of totalitarianism? Forgive me, because precisely the Jewish law and the Jewish example is what has moved Western society into the democratic spirit, where we are all equal under the law.
When you coming with an ideology that the whole world's supposed to be your slaves, okay, because you come instead of God, and of course the Bolsheviks did not believe in God.
Right.
The Jew become your enemy.
Right.
You see, you can never enslave a Jew.
Right.
Because they already have a king, as a king. God is the king.
Right.
Okay. So the Jew become an obstacle on your way to world totalitarian, to world tyranny.
This is the importance of monotheism, because the Jew is obligated never to turn anything into a god.
Right.
Right?
Exactly. We have a human identity. We have a sexual identity. We don't decide if we are a man or a woman.
No.
God gave us that identity. There's a family identity. There's a different, okay? Not everything is a family. We cannot invent family as a
your family is not,
we like.
It's not arbitrarily large.
We can live with whoever we want.
Right.
But the identity of a family is an identity that God decided on, and He gave it to us. And the fourth layer is the national identity. The 70 basic nationalities were created by God. We have our freedom under the wings of God.
I see.
Once there's no God, once there's no God rules that covers everybody, the strong and the weak, the one who decide what the rules are going to be is always going to be the strong. The king, this king or that king. And the first command that will be taken out of the Ten Commandments, when that happens, is lo tirtzach, do not murder. So we see how communism, where there's no God,
right,
brings to hundreds of millions of bodies.
Yes.
Okay, death.
Yes.
When there's no God, there's death. So that's the message. That's the message of Judaism. Now, what we saw at the 7th of October is something amazing. We saw the reaction of two ideologies that are looking to destroy civilization and combine together against the Jewish nation and the state of Israel. Okay, who are these two ideologies? The immediate one, of course, is the Islam. Wherever that ideology gets, become a desert.
Yeah.
Okay, it's a barbarian culture that lives on robbering, on death,
stealing,
and stealing. It's not a culture that can develop a new life and richness to.
Well, we see this especially in Qatar, don't we? Because Qatar is a slave state.
It's a total slave.
It is governed by a jihadi ruling class.
Thousands of slaves were killed in order to have the Olympic Games.
Right.
There. Okay.
Right.
They glorified death. Shuhada. They glorified death. Islamo-Nazism, what we saw at the 7th of October, is worse than Nazism.
Well,
the Nazis tried to hide what they did.
Oh, I see.
They had kind of a shame of what they did.
See.
They did not public in the whole world the gas chambers. Okay, these guys did what they did, killing children, raping women, cutting, whatever they did.
Totally public. They bragged about it.
They published it. Spiritually, it was done as a religious act.
Right.
So you have this ideology that attacks us directly, but you have much worse ideology that attacks us and get together with them. And this is progressivism.
This is the Western left, the modern Western left.
The modern Western left. The progressivism came after the...
Because the left was not always like this.
Right? The development of the postmodernism, which is a development of modernism, and in my book I explained the whole process, how they got over there. But the bottom line is that progressivism is the new version of the communism, of the Bolshevik.
Yeah, it's a mutation of Marxism, is what it is.
Exactly, exactly. You see those students in the university in America gets together with those Arabs. When you see Greta, the environment girl, okay. At the 8th of October, or immediately after these horrors coming out and say, I'm in favor of Hamas.
She didn't even wait for the Israeli response.
Nothing, okay? Or when you see
So she was actually celebrating a massacre.
Yes. More than that, you see the International Women Organization that will not come against the terrible sexual violence.
Yeah. It took him a long time to say anything about the
and
Jewish
even if
women.
they said, they basically said
exactly,
nothing.
I agree.
And you see the international gay movement that will not come against at the 7th of October. Basically, you see all the arms of the same octopus, named progressivism. Okay,
so we have an alliance between progressivism and jihadism.
Yes. The Islamists are the
hammer.
The hammer. The progressivism is the anvil.
I see. The main thrust of this effort is an attack against Jewish identity. Because if you can destroy Jewish identity and more generally Western identity, then you can impose totalitarianism. People don't know who they are. That's when you can turn them into slaves.
Exactly.
Right? It seems to me that this is an attack happening also within the Jewish state. And I think the Oslo process is the very essence of this. Tell us a little bit about that, and tell us how a renewal of Jewish identity would require canceling Oslo and how that may be done.
When Dr. Ron Pundak was the major intellectual figure in Israel behind the Oslo concept and the Oslo process. And when they did it, a few years later, in 2014, actually, it was 19 years later, when it was obvious that the Oslo process did not bring peace. It brought exactly the opposite. Floods of bloodshed, and that was before the 7th of October.
Of course.
It was obvious already.
Yeah.
He was asked by one of the reporters, it seems like, Mr. Pundak, it seems like Oslo failed. He said, no, it did not fail. Because Oslo was not about peace. That's his words. Amazing. By the way, he passed away a few weeks later, so maybe he felt that he has to say the truth or something like that. It was an amazing saying, which I talked about years before, but hearing it from his mouth is amazing.
He let the cat out of the bag.
Yes, he said, Oslo did not fail because it was not about peace. It was about, notice, Israelism instead of Judaism of the Israeli state. Okay. Now, in order to understand that sentence, you have to realize that Zionism had two forces inside it, fighting between themselves, like Jacob and Esau in their mother's belly. Okay. It's the Jewish identity and the new Israeli identity that tried to replace the Jewish identity. Okay, the concept was that we're gonna make the Jewish nation a normal nation, a nation like all the nations, a nation that is not based on the covenant with God in Sinai, but as any other nation with a covenant with a motherland. An Arab and a Jew can be both Israelis, and Judaism is just a religion, not a nation. You can be an Israeli and your religion will be the Jewish religion. You can be an Arab Israeli and you're just in any other nation. The problem is...
So it wouldn't be a Jewish state as such?
Yeah, it will be an Israeli state of all its citizens, but not a Jewish state. Which is, of course, we understand, it's a stupid concept that it will immediately lead to the erase of the Jewish nation.
Yeah.
Yes.
Many people in Israel convinced themselves that they were Israelis first and Jews second.
Right, exactly.
I see. This is really dramatic, because then what this means is that the ideologues of the Oslo process, such as Ron Pundak, understood from the beginning...
It's about identity.
That this was about identity, and also, in order to achieve their dream of an Israeli identity, unmoored from Jewish identity, they knowingly introduced an organization that wants to destroy the Jewish nation into the Jewish state. This is a very dramatic move.
Basically, they're saying it's going to be my way or the highway, as they say. Okay, if Israel is going to be a Jewish state, the whole
they'd rather destroy it than have it.
The whole Zionist experiment for us is a failure, and we rather close it.
What, in your view, is the way to avoid that? Because I think that if a civil war takes place in Israel, the enemies of Israel will have the opportunity to destroy it.
I can come only with one solution. And this is to create a faithful Jewish leadership to the state of Israel.
Well, thank you very much for speaking with me. It's been a great privilege and a pleasure to listen to your thoughts. Thank you.